Well, I used to write books when I was really young, when I was your guys' age, but they didn't get published because they were bad. But I thought they were good, but they were bad. One thing you need to know is that writing takes some practice, just like anything. Do either of you play a musical instrument? First day you played, were you any good? But you got better. How'd you get better? Practicing. You know, writing's the same thing. So my first book was not published until I was 30-something. Because I was kind of busy, you know, working with animals and doing things like that. But I wrote every day, and then eventually I got to be an okay writer and had my first book come out. And it came out in 1990. So 24 years ago.
Where all did you visit while you were a zookeeper?
Well, I went all over the world when I was a zookeeper. So I got into Africa, working with elephants. I've been up in the Arctic working with beluga whales, in Alaska working with sea otters, and Central America working in rainforests. So I've been in a lot of different places. It took me all over the world. And writing does too. I mean, because I do a lot of research for my books. And one of the cool things is I get to travel, and other people pay for it. Awesome.
Of all the books you've written, which is your favorite?
You know, I get asked that a lot, which is my favorite book. And the truth is, I don't really send a book in to be published unless I really like it, because my name's on it, so I want it to be good. So in a way, my books are like my 3 children. If I was sitting here today with my 3 children, and you both asked, who's your favorite child, what would I say? All of them, even if I didn't mean it. I'm kidding. Now, who's your parents' favorite child? So you're the favorite right there. You don't know? Yeah, it's probably you. Yeah, there you go.
How did you get the ideas for some of your stories like Sasquatch and Pete?
Well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit tonight when we do the talk, but the ideas come, I write about things that are interesting to me. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I've seen Bigfoot, but I'm very interested in Bigfoot. I'm going to tell you a story about Bigfoot later. And so they really come from my experience, they come from reading, they come from doing research, and they come from things that I'm just kind of fascinated with. You know, Zach's a good example of that. I got very interested with the security program. And this would be a hard thing to be in, so I wrote that book, did research and wrote that book. So what it's kind of like, I get to learn things as a writer. But I kind of get paid to learn those things because I write books. Wouldn't it be cool if you guys got paid to go to school? Almost. It'd be great. It's not going to happen. But as writers, you get to kind of learn new things because you're doing research for the books, and it's great. And then you write a book. I write about what's important to me.
Is there a book or series that you're currently working on?
Well, my series are all done now. They're not all out though. So I did the Cryptid Hunter series. The 4th book is finished. It'll be out in the fall, like next school year, early next school year, probably August. And that book's called Mutation. That series is done. The IQ series is done, but the 6th book is not yet. It'll be out again in the fall. It's called Alcatraz. And so I'm kind of done with all the series now. And the next 6 books are going to be what we call standalone books, which books are kind of like on their own. There might be another one after it, but there won't be any more series. So the series are done. The book I'm working on right now, I wrote a book called Peak, which is about climbing Mount Everest. And I'm writing a sequel to that, which is different than the series. You want to know the name? Okay, it's called Peak 2. That may not be the name, but that's what I'm calling it. We'll come up with a little cleverer name than that, hopefully.
What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of writing a series or a standalone title?
Well, I mean, that's a tremendously great question because series are good because you already know the characters. So when you write the 2nd book and the 3rd book, you already know the characters. You don't have to make those up. And I write what are called character-driven books. And the characters are down because they've already appeared in the book. So that makes writing the 2nd book and the 3rd book a little bit easier. The disadvantage of writing series is that you have to get them done quickly, and that's hard. I usually have 2 books come out a year, but I have so many contracts that sometimes there's long gaps between my series books, and that's a lot of pressure. So like if I have a series book come out, the day it comes out, the very first day it comes out, I'll get 200 emails from kids who have read that book and say, when's the next one coming out? And my book just came out that day. So that's annoying. Because it takes a lot longer to write a book than it does to read a book. Does that make sense? And so that's the disadvantage, the advantage and disadvantage. Standalone books are kind of different. I mean, you sit down, you do the research, and then you write the books, and then that book's done. Then you don't have to really, get back to those characters. Although I kind of miss my characters sometimes. So sometimes, like Zach Sly is a good example. When I wrote Zach Sly, I wrote it as a standalone novel. I was not going to write another book with Zach. And then about 3 days, and everybody wrote it. I said, "Will you write a book?" I go, "No." "Will you do a sequel?" I said, "No." They go, "Please." And I said, "No." They go, "Pretty please." I go, "No." And then I had an idea for the second book, and I called them and said, "Okay, I'll write a sequel." And they go, "Okay."
You believe in any of the cryptids you wrote about?
I do. I actually, have I ever seen any? No. But I do believe in some of the cryptids. So the cryptids I write about are ones that I think that might actually exist. Maybe. Who knows? I wish they'd find Bigfoot. Do you know why?
So I could do dishes?
No, because it'd be really good for my book. Think about it. I'm useful with Bigfoot.
Do you have any tips for young authors who want to become better writers?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. You have to practice writing. I mean, it sounds really silly, kind of, you just write. And you should keep a journal, and you should hide it from your parents. Because you need to write honestly. So here's what you do. You get your little journal, and then you find a really good hiding place. Because you won't be honest in it if you know other people are going to be reading it. So it should be private. And that's how you discover your voice. And you can write anything you want to in your journal. It's kind of between you and them, a little notebook. And that's kind of how you figure out how to write, is actually by writing. Sometimes people say, well, if I got inspired, I don't really get inspired, really. I mean, I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, no matter what time zone I'm in. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, like here, that's 3 o'clock in the morning where I live. How inspired do you think I'd be that early in the morning? Not at all. So it doesn't work this way. You don't get out of bed and go, hit me. That's not what happens. What you do is you start writing, and this is really important. Inspiration doesn't cause writing. Writing causes inspiration. So if you want to get inspired, you just start writing. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. I mean, eventually what will happen is that ideas will start to flow and stuff, but you physically have to start writing in order to kind of get your brain loosened up and get into that writing mode. And you need to do that every day. I write 7 days a week, 365 days a year, including Christmas. Not long than Christmas. So I write every single day. It's just what I do. And I'm lucky because I have people who do a lot of things for me, so I don't have to do anything. Really. I have one chore on the farm. I take the garbage up to the curb every Thursday. That's it. And guess what? I'm out of town this week. So I don't have to do that chore. So I'm lucky because there's my wife and everybody does everything because they just want me to be, imprisoned in the office working on books.
Okay.